And welcome to my channel. My name is Lizzie if you are new. So today I want to get straight into it just because I've got a feeling it's going to be a really long video, but I'm basically going to do my perfume collection. I figured that it's been a long time since I've last uploaded, but I want to become more sort of consistent, and I just thought the first video back I want to do a perfume collection because I've added more to my collection. I've gotten rid of stuff. I'm starting to know more which fragrances I like, which fragrances I don't like, and just generally have a deeper understanding of the world of fragrances. And if you know me, if you know my channel, I love fragrances. So my aim is to get this video to less than 15 minutes. So I'm going to sort of briefly speak about each and every fragrance. I will have the notes on the screen, also all the fragrances that I mentioned, and that will be in this video, will also be in the description box down below if you want to find out more where you can purchase. And yeah, let's just get straight into it. So this video is in sort of no particular order. It's just, I'm just going to grab them, talk about them, move on to the next one. So the first fragrance that I want to show you guys is the Giorgio Armani C fragrance. I have spoken about this a lot on my channel. This is one of my all-time favorite fragrances. This is probably my fourth or maybe fifth bottle because I go through these so fast because I love it so much. And to me, this is sort of the perfect balance between sort of fruity, sweet, and a bit of spice. Although it is sweet, it doesn't smell sort of sickly sweet, or doesn't smell particularly young. I feel like it's created for like a strong feminine woman. So I love sweet scents, I love fruity, I love fresh, I love clean. I'm very sort of broad in sort of the kind of fragrances that I like. This is also a fragrance that lasts a very long time. I get about 8 hours wear when I use this fragrance, and I personally use it throughout the year. I don't feel like you should have a specific fragrance for a specific time of the year, although I know some people like to do that. But for me personally, I can wear it all year round. It's intense, it's long wearing. So that is Giorgio Armani C. So the next one I have is actually my newest out of the C collection, and this is C Fiore. Fiori, I'm not sure if I've pronounced that right, but I feel like this again is a very sweet scent, but it's more on the sort of floral side. To me, it's a very warm, sweet, sort of vanilla-y scent that sort of has a bit of musk to it. Also, by the way, if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes just to remind myself. In terms of the wear, I would say it's moderate to long. Again, fragrances, the longevity of fragrances will depend on your body chemistry. So just because something lasts long on me, and just because I say something lasts 8 hours or 5 hours or whatever the case may be, doesn't necessarily mean that it will really last that long. It would just honestly depend on your body chemistry. But overall, I really like this fragrance. It's definitely a fragrance that I would love to repurchase. I still prefer the original C, but this one is a great sort of sweet, vanilla-y, musky sort of scent that you can wear during the summertime. Next, the last of the C family is the C Passion, and this I would say, although all of the C line I feel like is sort of has some sort of sweetness, I would say this is the least sweetest out of all of them. So if you're not a fan of sweet fragrances, I would definitely opt for this one as opposed to C and C Fiori. This is a really great evening scent. It sort of reminds you if you're going for like a really important dinner or a really important meeting or just any event. I feel like this would be a really great fragrance. In terms of longevity, I would say maybe around 6 to 8 hours I can get out of C Passion. Another one of my all-time favorites is the Dior Absolutely Blooming. This, I've gone through so many bottles of this. This is one of my all-time favorite fragrances. I definitely prefer it over the original Miss Dior, which I do have, which I'm going to show you in just a second. So I plan on doing a review between this one and the original Miss Dior. So I'm not going to talk about this too much, but with this one, I would say it's a very intense, strong, feminine scent. I feel like the initial spray can sort of overwhelm you and can just be quite a lot, but once it dries down and sort of works with your body chemistry, it's honestly such a beautiful, sweet, floral fragrance. Again, if you're somebody that likes to have different fragrances depending on the season. I'll definitely say this one is a summer spring scent. It's honestly one of my favorite, but like I said, I will do a review along with the Miss Dior. So yeah, so that's Miss Dior Absolutely Blooming. And then we have the original Miss Dior. Well, I don't know if this is the original one. This is the Miss Dior Eau de Parfum, but I believe there's a 2012 one and then there's a 2017 one, I believe, or somewhere along those dates. But this one I feel like is a very classy women's scent. It's not sweet. It can be borderline powdery. And it can be a bit intense and sort of overwhelming, and I love intense fragrances. Like, I want to fill the room with my fragrance, but I feel like sometimes this one can be quite overpowering. I think this is probably one of my only scents that sort of dries down to a more of a woody fragrance. I feel like woody, to describe a fragrance as woody doesn't sound attractive to me. When you hear about fruity and sweet fragrances and feminine fragrance, you instantly feel like that's going to smell really good. When you hear something smells woody, you're just a bit like, I'm not too sure about that. But yeah, this is definitely a woody scent with sort of hint of floral in it. So if you're somebody that's maybe slightly older, or you just don't like sweet, fruity, floral scents, this is a great one that has a tiny bit of floral but is generally a woody fragrance. Next fragrance up is the YSL Mon Paris. This is probably my second bottle. This is sort of an intoxicating fragrance. It's super sweet, super fruity, very, very young. Not to the point where you smell like a teenager. Not that there's anything wrong with smelling like a teenager, but if you're, you know, in your 20s or 30s and you don't want to smell like super young, I wouldn't say this necessarily smells like that, but it's definitely a young fragrance that's very fruity and sweet. I would say the longevity for this one is, I feel like it doesn't last as long as the previous fragrances that I've just spoken about. I could probably get around 4 to 5 hours wear of this, and then I would have to retouch. But I'm not somebody that likes to put my fragrance in my bag. Like, once I've put my fragrance on, that's it for today. Like, I don't want to have to retouch it. So I don't feel like this one lasts as long, but it's a beautiful sort of intoxicating, sweet, fruity scent. Next up, we have the Lancome La Vie Belle. This is a very, I think the best way to describe this fragrance is that it's pretty and it's feminine. It's one of those fragrances that if you're on a date or if you're going on a lunch with your girls, this is a great fragrance to wear. And I feel like it's also a very safe scent. It's not overly sweet and it's not an offensive smell. It's not one of those smells where it's intoxicating, but it's just very feminine, very sweet and very delicate. This is actually my second bottle, so I definitely love Lancome La Vie Belle. I would say in terms of longevity, this lasts a very, very, very long time. Probably one of the longest out of all these fragrances, and I will have a video coming up about fragrances that last long. But if you're looking for a fragrance that lasts a good amount of time, I would definitely recommend this fragrance. Going back to YSL, we have the YSL Black Opium. This was a cult favorite. A lot of people love this fragrance, and it is a beautiful, beautiful scent. It's sort of the perfect combination of sweet, vanilla and coffee, and I feel like the coffee is what makes it sort of unique from other fragrances. I also find that it's very warm and like it has a hint of spiciness to it. The only issue I have with Black Opium is that I feel like the longevity is borderline terrible, at least for me. I feel like I can smell it for maybe 3 hours and then I probably would have to you know, apply it again. And like I said before, I'm not a person that likes to reapply, so I like to layer this fragrance with other fragrances that last a bit longer. So it doesn't last the longest, but it is a beautiful, beautiful scent. So that's Black Opium. So I have two Jo Malone fragrances. I think both of these actually I picked up from duty free. So the first one I have is the English Pear and Freesia. It's pretty self-explanatory. It pretty much smells like fresh pears. It's a fruity fragrance, but it's not overly sort of sweet. I will say that the pear is very, very strong. Like, I feel like all I can smell in this is loads and loads of sweet pears. So it's definitely a great sort of summer spring scent. I don't love it, but I don't hate it at the same time. I'm not sure if I would repurchase this one just because I literally feel like I just smell like pears. In terms of longevity, Jo Malone's a weird one. I feel like some of their fragrance, a lot of their fragrances don't last very long. So this is one of the fragrances that I like to layer on top of other fragrances. Like I said, it pretty much smells like fruity pears, so I like to pair it with another maybe sweet fragrance or fragrance that's not as sweet, just to balance out the sweetness. Then the next one I have is Poppy and Barley. This is one of their new fragrances that I think came out last year or the year before, but I'm pretty sure it's last year. This I definitely prefer over the English Pear and Freesia. And these are one of the fragrances that I feel like invoke sort of a memory for me. Like I said, I bought it in duty free when I was on my way to Dubai, and I wore it while I was out there. And so whenever I smelled it, it just takes me back to that moment. Because if anyone knows me, knows that I truly love Dubai. It's probably one of my favorite places to be. So Poppy and Barley, beautiful scent. In terms of like longevity, again, I don't think it lasts the longest. I would say around 4 to 5 hours, and then you would have to most likely reapply, but it's a beautiful fragrance. Next up we have Gucci Bloom. These are what I've had a love-hate relationship with this, and I think I've expressed that on my channel in my older videos, but I feel like this is, it gives me a granny kind of vibe to it. And at first I hated it, and then I sort of kind of liked it, and now I'm back to not liking it that very much, and I don't gravitate towards it at all. To me, it's just it's too floral. Like, I love floral fragrances. As you can see from most of the fragrances that I've showed you, a lot of them do have a floral element to them, but this one I definitely feel is just way too floral. It kind of gives me granny vibes. It's just too much, very intoxicating, and I don't think I would ever repurchase this again. Next up I have Alien Love. I feel like what is this brand? I think it's something Mugler. I will have the name somewhere in this video, but their fragrances are, I feel like, really unique. They're different, they're intoxicating, and they are the most long wearing fragrances ever. These fragrances, I want to say, last 10 hours for me. Again, it will definitely depend on you and your body chemistry, but Alien is a very intoxicating fragrance. It's floral, it's woody, I think it has notes of amber in it. Very overpowering. If you're somebody that likes subtle, this is by no means subtle. It is very in your face. It's one of those fragrances that if somebody's wearing it, I can smell them from like over there. It's very, very intoxicating. Next we have Viktor and Rolf Bonbon. This is a very sweet, fruity scent. I feel like you're starting to see that there's a consistent vibe with the type of fragrances that I sort of gravitate towards. This I don't have very much of. I don't have very much left, and I've had this since when I went to Cape Verde, which was like 3 years ago. So I've had it for a really, really long time, and I have the tiniest bit left, but just a very sweet and fruity scent. And in terms of the longevity, I would say I get around 6 to 7 hours wearing this. Next up we have the classic Viktor and Rolf Flowerbomb. This again is pretty self-explanatory. It's a floral sweet scent. More recently, this doesn't last as long as most people. It doesn't last as long on me than it does on most people. I would say I get around maybe 5 hours wear with this one. And I'm not sure, would I repurchase it? I don't know. I feel like now that I've smelled so many other fragrances, I feel like if you asked me this a year ago, I probably would say that I would repurchase this. But it's a classic scent that everyone and their grandmother pretty much has. So everyone will know that you're wearing Flowerbomb by Viktor and Rolf. But it is definitely a beautiful scent. Next up we have Coco Madamoiselle by Chanel. My only Chanel fragrances. I find Chanel fragrances very hit and miss. I feel like some of them are sort of borderline granny-ish. They're just way too strong and just older smelling for me. I like to smell young, but one of my favorites is definitely Coco Mademoiselle. When you initially spray it, it has sort of like a zesty, citrusy burst to it, and then once it dries down, it's sort of a more fresh and floral scent. Very, very beautiful. I love this fragrance. Definitely a repurchase for me. Next up we have a fragrance that comes in the most amazing packaging, and this is Alexandre J. So I picked this up in Dubai. One of my all-time favorite fragrances. It's stunning. And again, it takes me way back to Dubai, and like I said, I love that place. So this is more like a sweet sort of powdery scent. The packaging on this is like, I can't, it's so luxurious. It's one of those fragrances that once it's finished, I can just literally have it sitting around on a dresser somewhere just because it looks so beautiful. Very luxury, very, very gorgeous scent. And I would say in terms of the longevity, probably again one of my most long-lasting fragrances. I can wear this all day, like I want to say 12 hours literally, wash my clothes and still smell that fragrance. It is amazing. The only thing is that it's pretty hard to get. I believe it's a French, I could be wrong, but in my mind for some reason I'm thinking French, but I'm thinking it's a French brand. So you can't really get it, it's not easily accessible, at least from where I found. If you Google the scent, you can find it in like random places like Amazon. But it's a beautiful, beautiful fragrance and I love it. So before I end this video, actually, there are a couple of fragrances that I didn't mention in this video that I still do have in my collection. Most of them I don't use as often, but I just wanted to quickly show you guys because I guess I want to show you my entire collection. So I have the Nicki Minaj Onika. I've had that for such a long time. It is a pretty fragrance, but I'm just past celebrity fragrances at this point. I've sort of moved on from there, but it is a nice fragrance if you are on a budget and want something that's slightly cheaper. I also have Minajesty, which is another pretty scent. It's very fruity and sweet, quite a very young scent. In fact, both of the Nicki Minaj fragrances are very young. As you can see, the packaging on both of them is very obnoxious. It's not very travel friendly, but they are pretty fragrances. I probably won't repurchase these again, but nevertheless I still have them and will use them occasionally if I'm like going somewhere like shopping or something and I don't want to wear any of my other nicer fragrances. I also have J'adore by Dior. This one I just totally forgot to add in the video, but as you can see, I don't have very much of this left. I probably won't repurchase this just because I felt like the fragrance was a bit too more mature for me. It's not overpowering, it's very subtle. It is a beautiful fragrance, but it's just I just feel like it was too mature. Then we have Tommy Girl, one of my all-time classics. It's a favorite. It's one of those clean, fresh smells. I definitely have to repurchase this. And then I have two Marc Jacobs fragrances. I have Marc Jacobs Daisy and the Marc Jacobs Oh So Fresh. So that is the end of my perfume collection. This video was, my mouth is dry. I feel like I've been talking for so long, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, some of these fragrances I will go into greater detail and do a review. I definitely want to be pushing out more fragrance content just because that's what I enjoy, it's what I love, and it was what makes me happy. So I'm definitely gonna put that out there. So let me know of any fragrances that you've tried that you love, or fragrances that you've tried that I've mentioned that you're not a huge fan of. Let me know in the comments. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.